Okay, so let's hop into success.
And these are things that we've seen in our life, just things that we've learned, things that other people have shown us, that we've learned from other people, things that our friends have learned, just a whole bunch of wisdom that our young years of life we've picked up on what it takes to be successful.
That's right. So the first one is your network determines your net worth. That means who you are around determines if you're successful, you're unsuccessful. A lot of times it determines your bank account.
Yep.
Because if you're not around opportunities, if you're around people who are blowing their money, you're going to blow your money. If you're around people who aren't going after success, they're not going to go after success, so you're not going after success. I mean, your people that you're around really determines your success. I remember when I was in college, I didn't want to go to a networking event. I went to the networking event, met a guy. He's opened up so many doors in my life just because I met him that one time. And it's like, everything in my life that I've achieved has been from a ripple of somebody else.
Yep.
You can grip it yourself and try to figure out life and say, I'm going to open up my own doors. And you can only go so far that way. But when you have the help of somebody else pointing to a door that you didn't know existed, you can achieve whatever you want.
Yeah, and I think that just hits on the importance of networking and like making sure that you make a name for yourself, that people know who you are. It's kind of like that saying, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, right? People can't buy from you unless they know who you are, who to buy from. And your network is huge on that.
And so many people are just looking for somebody to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in working for you, or hey, I'm interested in opportunity. Do you know anybody who's everybody wants to connect everybody with everybody.
Yeah.
I love it when people ask us, hey, do you know so-and-so who does this work on houses? Or do you know a roofer? Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
James, send it to James. Like, I love connecting people, and everybody else does too.
Yeah. I think some people are afraid to ask people for help. And that kind of goes into another one of our points, which is like just feeling that you are a crutch, right? Like, you can't do that when it comes to success. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to be able to just go with the flow, be the confident, ask people if you want a job, ask them. Like, it's not hard to reach out on LinkedIn and say, hey, can we go get coffee? I'd love to talk. Do you have any opportunities? So yeah, you definitely have to be confident in yourself.
So many people hold themselves back from success.
Yeah.
They just completely trip themselves up anytime they're going after something. That is just having toxic relationships when you could get out of those relationships.
Right.
Just being around negative people, using your past. This is a big one. Using your past as a crutch for your future. You can never really go after meaningful success because you believe you're not enough because of something that happened in your past.
Right.
I get it. Life's rough. Everybody has a rough upbringing. Everybody has something that is screwed up and shouldn't have happened. But if you let that one thing that happened in the past impact your future, then you're not going to be who you should be in life. So like, stop tripping over yourself and say, okay, I have a blank canvas in front of me. It is up to me to determine what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Not what I was, not who messed me up or whatever happened. But like, don't let yourself not achieve success.
Yeah. And another thing is, it's okay to be different. I think there's a lot of people out there who just want to kind of follow the status quo because they're afraid of what people might think if they're different, right? If all your friends are going to college and you're like, I really don't know what I want to do after I graduate high school. I might take a gap year and kind of figure that out because that's best for me. But you're afraid to tell your friends that. A lot of people can't be different because they're afraid, and that's okay. Like, if you want to be successful, a lot of the successful people are different. Look at Elon Musk, look at Jeff Bezos, right? They would have never had what they have today if they didn't take a chance, step out, find something to be different about, and it's okay.
People don't write stories about average people. They write stories about extraordinary people. Trailblazers, people that did not follow the crowd. They went their own way and found opportunities in those areas. So challenging the status quo means, hey, not necessarily creating your own business, not necessarily doing that, but finding a way in which you can do it with your personality and who you are, tailored 100% to your life.
Right.
So many people, they just like, oh, well, what is so-and-so doing? You're following everybody else. Stop following everybody else and follow what you want. And we're just a society of herds moving around, and we're just fall into these herds, and we don't really understand that, hey, what do we actually want to do?
Right.
What do we want to be? And if you keep following around people, then you're never going to get to where you really should be. You're just going to be following people the rest of your life.
Right. It's worth mentioning. It's probably a good idea just to either have a journal or, just sit and think for a while without social media, without the television, without your computer. Like, where do you as a person actually want to end up? And if that's where you want to end up, then figure out how to get there, right? And knowing that is huge.
And so many people are so scared to not follow the herd and challenge the status quo because they don't believe they belong in the room. You do belong in the room. Everybody feels like they shouldn't be where they're at.
Yeah.
Doing this podcast, everyone has self-doubt. Everyone says, should I be talking in front of people? What if I say something stupid? Am I good enough to do this? Am I good enough to be in the room? Everybody has those thoughts. Everybody thinks they're not enough. Everybody has some sort of insecurities. And you just have to realize, hey, I'm going to have those. I acknowledge that. I'm going to be a little bit nervous. But at the end of the day, if you want to go after something, you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. And
to step out and take the risk. Like if what you have in your head is, hey, I'm going to go be a welder and I'm going to be the best welder in the world. I'm not going to go to college because for me, it doesn't make sense. I'm not good at school, but I'm good with my hands, right? If that's what it is, go do it and be fully confident in yourself to go do it. Yeah.
One thing I've learned is going in with that is use the feeling of being behind, or use the feeling of being behind. Let me re-say that. Use the feeling of being behind as an advantage. Everyone who's successful feels like they're not doing enough. I don't know how many times I've worked 60 hours a week and I'm like, I could have done this more. I could have done that more. Right. Everybody feels like they're behind. And you have to use that as a motivating factor. Like, oh, I'm not where I need to be. Okay, I need to get back in here. I need to get to work. Oh, I'm not reading what I should be reading, or I'm not ready for this test, or I'm not ready for this next business venture. I need to get in the lab and start working. So many people look at that and they say, oh, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good where I'm at. Like, I don't need to read. I don't need to learn. Like, and that's a horrible attitude. That does not lead to success whatsoever. Like, you have to have the attitude of, oh my gosh, I am so behind. I need to get in there. I need to get ahead. I need to start working right away.
Yeah. I think another thing too is, I've always said there's two types of people, right? There's the people who learn from experience, and there's the people who learn by watching other people or by taking advice from other people. If you're in the other people, like you can learn just by listening to other people camp, when it comes to success, use YouTube, use Facebook, use Google as your resource to get what other people have done. There's so many business owners, there's so many people who are successful who like to talk about it. They like to give free advice like we're doing right now. So use that to your advantage and figure out what they did and do the same thing.
Yeah, the whole world has left you a blueprint on pretty much any venture you can go after.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something completely new, like the way Amazon or Microsoft was. But I mean, really, there's blueprints all the way back to the 1800s of somebody starting a completely new industry.
Right.
So it's like, if you want to start something there's probably a blueprint out there that you can learn from other people, so you don't have to make those mistakes. And the best way to do that is to get a mentor. Like, get a mentor, get somebody who's been in the position you've been in. Or just somebody who's achieved something, because if they've achieved something, they can give you advice on how to achieve something else, even if it's unrelated.
I think one thing that's pretty wild to me is, like, Nate runs a YouTube channel. He has videos all the time, and people have reached out and asked you to have phone calls. And like, the first time someone did that, I was like, oh my gosh, you can basically reach anyone you want to. Now, they might not respond to you, but if you have someone else that you're watching or following, reach out and ask if you can have a quick call and ask them a couple questions. Like, most people are absolutely willing to give you some time of day and help you out if they can. And that's just one thing, just putting yourself out there. It's perfectly fine. It's not a weird thing. Like, people appreciate that, and you're going to stand out too.
And the reason successful people want to help people on the come up is because somebody helped them. So they know, like, hey, it'd be so cool for me to be a mentor someday. And then once you achieve success, people start reaching out to you. You're like, oh, like 100% I'm going to give back. 100% I'm going to, you're where I was 15 years ago. You're where I was 10 years ago. Let me hook you up and give you some advice. Hey, don't do this. Do this. Like, this is what I learned. This is what somebody told me. Like, heck yeah, everybody wants to help everybody out. But when you're in that spot on the come up, you think that everybody else does not want to help you. Everybody wants to help you. You're literally one ask away, one call away, one LinkedIn message away from connecting with that mentor that's going to be able to help you get to the next level.
And creating that ripple in your life that completely changes your life.
One connection can literally just, it's like, you know, you throw a rock in a lake, it ripples 360 degrees. So when you make one connection and then you make another connection, you make another connection, your pond becomes super choppy because all those connections, they all bleed into each other. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I know so many people. If I want one thing, or if I want an introduction to this job or an introduction for this business, or like, you just have all these network of people. And then, hey, if you don't know somebody, guess what? You have, 40 people that you could reach out to and say, hey, you know somebody who does coding? Do you know somebody who does this? And if you reach out to enough of those people, they'll connect you with that person. So it's just, it's crazy how, I think they said almost everybody in the world's connected by
8 people.
8 people. And then in the United States or wherever your country is, you're probably connected with people probably 3 to 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, the old saying, it's a small world, like, it really is.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah. So, but that being said, to wrap up this success kind of topic here is, don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Don't let other people determine what you want to go after in life because of their opinions. When you lay in bed at night by yourself and you're with your thoughts, those people's opinions don't matter. What you feel about your life and what you're going after is the only thing that matters. People's opinions are like trash. You just throw them away and you don't acknowledge them, in my opinion. Now, there's certain opinions you want to listen to, but if you believe in what you're doing and you've thought it through and you've done your research before starting a business or whatever you're going after, don't let somebody stop you from doing that because they have an opinion. Because honestly, that person, the reason they're telling you not to go after your dreams is because they never went after theirs, or they went after theirs and they gave up and they quit and they feel bad about it. So they don't want anybody else to have success because it makes them feel bad about what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's always a caveat with opinions, but for the most part, I mean, if you know that you're on the right path, you can lay your head on your pillow at night and sleep well, and you feel confident in your choices. Like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.